Packing for a Disney trip can feel overwhelming, but we've got it down to a science.
Want to know some of the best tips and tricks to make packing stress-free? And maybe even a little fun?
Stick around because we're sharing the must-haves and what to skip to help you pack like a pro for your next Disney vacation.
Today we're sharing our tried and true packing hacks for a smooth Disney trip.
Over the years, we've learned what works, what's a waste of space, and how to stay organized so you can focus on the magic instead of worrying about what you forgot.
So grab your packing list and let's get started.
So our first tip is not specific to a Disney vacation. This could also apply to someone that just travels frequently. But one of our best suggestions is to buy duplicates of some of your most used products and keep them already packed in your suitcase or in your travel bag. So some of the things that we would recommend obviously would be like toothbrush, toothpaste, things like that. But also there's some other things that you might not think of, like an extra pair of glasses and extra contact stuff that I just always keep packed. So I know that I don't have to worry about if I want to wear my glasses to the airport or something in the morning, I don't have to worry about making sure that I've got my contacts.
Yeah, and along with that, I mean, a lot of those items are going to be like toiletry type stuff, but it even can go beyond that. Depending on your budget, depending on what you want to spend, I mean, sometimes you can have, an extra swimsuit or extra pair of sandals or beach hat or things that you maybe don't want to be using regularly, just here.
Don't want them to wear out with normal use.
Yeah, that they're specifically for when you go on vacation. We have found that it's just nice to just be able to leave in your bags kind of packed out of the way. You don't have to think about it. And then when you go back on vacation, when you're going on another trip, you don't have to think like, oh, where is that? Well, it's right with your vacation stuff.
Right. And that's actually our second tip, is to have these things that you have the duplicates of, just keep them packed so that you're ready for your next trip. That way, you're not scrambling around trying to find them at the last minute.
Yeah, and then that way, if you do keep them packed, again, you should hopefully know right where your suitcase is, where you left it, and again, all those things are going to be in that one location, and then it'll be a lot easier to pack for your next trip. So our third tip is, and I know this is going to sound crazy, but we actually usually start packing probably about a month or so before we actually go on our vacation.
Yeah, this just really helps, especially for me, to alleviate the stress of any last minute packing, and it gives us plenty of time. We have kids that they grow so fast. You have to make sure that their swimsuits still fit, their shoes still fit. If you're going during the winter time and you're packing for summer clothes for Florida, you got to make sure you've got those clothes for them. So it just gives us plenty of time to make sure that we've got what we need, and if there's anything that maybe didn't last or broke or we ran out of or whatever, we have plenty of time to get that again so that we can pack it.
It has made it nice, and it also kind of like creates some of the excitement ahead of time. Like, a lot of times people will count down toward their trip, and this is like for us kind of like one of the things in our process as we gear up for our Disney vacation is that, okay, well, now we're in that window where we start packing and we start gathering the things that we're going to want. And like she said, it really makes it so that it is way less stressful. We used to do it where it was like a couple days before or maybe like a week before, and it started to like expand as we went on, because what we found was it's just like if you gather a little bit at a time, it just makes it easier to make sure that you are getting what you want, what you need, and by the time it's all said and done, again, you're not stressed out about it because you didn't just wait to the last second.
And really, that's where tips 1 and 2 kind of came from, was this starting to pack a little bit earlier. And I would say things like, man, I really wish I didn't have to wait till, the morning of to pack my glasses or my contacts or whatever. And so we're like, okay, well, let's just get duplicates of those things so you don't have to pack them the last minute.
Yeah, and that has just been so helpful because the more that we already have kind of pre-packed, we don't have to think about it.
A little bonus tip here, one thing that we do is immediately when we get back from our vacation, as we're unpacking, we refill and restock those items that we may have gone through. So if we're refilling hair products or things like that, we do that when we get home.
Yeah, shampoo.
Exactly. So it's already ready to go the next time you're ready to pack. So you don't have to think about it later and remember, did I refill that? Did I pack that again? If you did it right when you unpacked, you don't have to worry about it.
Now, again, we just want to be clear that, this is a system and things that have worked for us. This may not work for everybody. You got to go with what works for you and your family, but these have been super helpful for us.
Yeah, so this system has really helped us not only be proactive in our packing and make sure that we don't forget anything, but it also, like you mentioned earlier, really kind of helps hype us up for the trip and get us more excited about it, because sometimes even if you've got that countdown, it can seem like your trip is so far away. But once you get to that point where you start packing your outfits, or you start packing this or that, or your Mickey ears or whatever, like, it just makes it feel so much more real. Tip number 4 is to make a packing list. This may seem really, really basic, but it's so important, because I know for me, I can think about something and say, I want to make sure that I pack that. But if I don't write it down, once I actually have the time to go pack it, I may have forgotten. So I have a packing list running on my phone that every time I think of something, I just jot it down. And then when I go to pack, I have this awesome little checklist that I can just check all the boxes and make sure that I've got everything.
Yeah, and it's actually been really cool, because as we're on vacation and as our kids get older, we'll be at the parks, we'll be at the resorts, and then we'll think, man, it would be really great to have X, Y, or Z. And what we end up doing is we just pull up our packing list, add it to that list, and then that way when we get home, we go back and we see that when we're getting ready to pack, and that's something that reminds us that maybe we need to order or we need to get for a future trip. So it's not only been helpful as we've gone to prepare for these trips, but also as we're on our trip, so that we don't forget maybe something else that we thought of. Just write it down on that list, and again, it's just been amazing and super helpful for us.
It's also super helpful because then you have a packing to go home list too. You can go through your list and make sure that you've got everything, because it's so easy to leave, and a bottle of shampoo in the shower, or leave your toothbrush on the counter, things like that. It's so easy to forget all the little things that you pack in your suitcase. But if you've got that list on your phone that you can just go back through and make sure you've got it all, you're good to go.
The next tip that we would highly recommend that you bring with you is an insulated water bottle. Even if it's not, a nice metal reusable water bottle, you should bring some kind of water bottle that you can take with you, whether it's to the parks or Disney Springs or just around the resorts. You definitely need something that you can fill up with ice and water and have that with you on a constant basis.
Absolutely. And one thing to keep in mind, like you mentioned, you have access to ice machines. Making sure that the opening of your water bottle is big enough to be able to get ice in that's kind of a big deal. When you're out in the hot, that ice cold water is so refreshing, and you really want to make sure you don't have to work to put each little ice cube in. Our next tip is to make sure that you have all the items that you need to avoid overexposure to the sun. Whether that's sunscreen or protective clothing or a hat, whatever you need, make sure that you bring that. But we've also found a few tips and tricks along the way of how you can avoid some of that sun exposure even without some of those things. So for example, one of the things that we really prioritize, especially with young kids, is being aware of the time of day that you're going out and doing things. We really try to avoid that peak time of the day where the sun is the hottest and the UV rays are the strongest, especially if we're going to be going to the pool or we're going to be out in the open. We really try to avoid that. And if we do have to be out in the sun, we always try to look for shaded areas, look for shaded walkways, look for a shaded bench, whatever we need to try to stay in the shadows, in the shade as much as we can, because then not only do you avoid having to put on a bunch of sunscreen all the time, but you're still keeping yourself safe from the sun and you don't end up with a really painful sunburn.
Another thing along with that would be to bring an umbrella. It could seem kind of crazy, like really, you're gonna bring an umbrella for the sun? Yeah, it's a great idea because it's not only helpful for all the rain showers that can happen throughout the day, but honestly, creating your own shade. You're like Billy Zane from Titanic, right? You create your own luck. In this situation, you create your own shade by having an umbrella. So you want to make sure that you do have that so you can avoid getting burned or anything like that.
Absolutely. So the next thing we want to talk about is some of the things maybe you should skip packing. And our first suggestion would be, if you can get away with it, skip packing some of those basic shower toiletry items like shampoo, conditioner, and body wash, because Disney provides those, and unless you have really specific needs for your hair or skin, you can probably get away with using those for just a couple days. They're really not bad products, and even with my curly hair, I typically just use the Disney products and it's fine for a week.
And they even have lotion, and there's even a few other items that if you forgot to bring something, you can call mousekeepers and then they can bring those things up to you. But yeah, there's little things like that you can probably get away with if, like she said, you're okay to like not need anything very, very specific.
For sure. And another thing that I would suggest that I typically do is I just go very, very minimal on makeup, because I know I'm gonna be out in the sun, I'm gonna be sweaty, I'm gonna be potentially getting wet on water rides or going to the pool, or who knows what. And it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me to spend a lot of time doing makeup when I'm probably gonna ruin that makeup anyway. So I just feel like you're on vacation, take a little break from the makeup if you feel comfortable, and just go a little lighter. I typically just bring some mascara and maybe a little eyeshadow if I really want to glam up, but that's pretty much all that I do.
Yeah, another thing you want to avoid, as she said, packing too much of would be clothing. There's a lot that, like, when you're there, like I get, people get hot and sweaty and things of that nature. So you do want to make sure that you have an appropriate amount of clothes. But if you're bringing like 9 extra suitcases for all the different outfits that you have, like, you're probably overpacking. Yeah, you just want to make sure that you do have enough, but you don't want to have too much that it's just going to be a nightmare and you find that you always overpack.
So along with our suggestion of trying to pack a little bit lighter, one thing that I try to do is almost pack like a capsule wardrobe of clothes. So I pretty much try to have tops and bottoms that I can mix and match and intermingle with several different options. That way you feel like you're wearing different new outfits, but you're only packing a few items, and it really helps cut down on your suitcase space.
Yeah, and that really is a great tip, and everyone in the family can do that. I know you do that with the girls, and then I've even started to do that too. It just makes it more versatile, so when you're there, you have a couple different options and you've got several different outfits with fewer clothes.
Yeah.
But another thing with that is, let's say you do bring, just a minimal amount of clothing, and then all of a sudden you feel like you're running out. The nice thing is, at just about every Disney resort, there's going to be some access to laundry services. There are some rooms that actually have like a washer and dryer in the room itself that you don't have to pay for, or you may have access to a laundry room or facility. Now, some people might be thinking, like, really, you want me to do laundry while I'm there? Well, if it helps save on the extra bags that you bring, or if you've got a crisis because your kid's favorite shirt got dirty and they want to wear it the next day, you can do that without having to worry about it. So
Absolutely. And those guest laundry facilities also have vending machines with detergents and things like that, so you don't have to worry about packing that yourself. You have access to that for a small fee. So our next tip might seem kind of crazy, but we highly recommend not checking any suitcases if you're flying to Disney.
yeah, so this kind of goes along with our tips about things to avoid. If you pack too much, if you pack an appropriate amount of things for you and your family, then hopefully you won't have to check a bag. I know that in certain situations that may not be possible for different people, but we usually, when we fly, we try to make sure that we get our personal item and our carry-on, and that's all that we pack for the week. Like I said, we try to utilize some of those other things that we know we're going to have access to at Disney. Because we're not overpacking, we are able to pack appropriately to have certain things that we're going to need, and then we don't have to check a bag. And not only does that save us money, which is not really the biggest deal, it just saves all the hassle of having to go get your bags, or if something should happen, if they were to get lost or stolen, or
especially if you have a connecting flight. So if you do have to check a bag, we highly recommend packing your essentials in your carry-on. So if your suitcase does get lost, you have all the basics that you need. So anything like medication or contacts, glasses, change of clothes, those really basic things. Make sure you've at least got that in your
driver's license,
carry-on.
wallets, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like anything that you could be concerned about having lost or stolen.
Absolutely.
Laptop, any kind of electronics, anything like that. Just, like she said,
keep it with you.
Keep it with you, keep it on you, whether it's in your personal item or your carry-on. It would just be highly recommended.
We're always so excited for our Disney trips, so we usually try to find the earliest flight to Florida that we possibly can. But we have a lengthy drive to the airport, so this usually means that we end up staying at a hotel nearby the night before our flight. So our next tip is for if you're in that same situation where you have an overnight stay before your flight out, we highly recommend packing a separate bag with the things that you're going to need for that overnight, so you don't have to dig into your suitcases a lot. So for example, we pack things like pajamas, the clothes that we're going to wear on the flight, and anything that we might need in that hotel room that we won't at Disney. So for us, that's things like if we have a pack and play and we need a pack and play sheet or something like that for bedding.
Yeah, and along with that, you just, whether it's a separate bag or an extra packing cube, you just want to make sure, as she said, that you are packing things that you may not need to bring with you to Florida, that put that extra stuff back in the car, and then that's not something you have to worry about later.
Exactly. You want to minimize any clutter in your suitcase that you don't really need to have. So another tip, along with those clothes that you're going to be wearing to the airport, is to make sure that you pack at least one pair of long pants and some kind of jacket or sweater or sweatshirt, because even if it's just on the plane or in the airport, you can get really cold and that's so uncomfortable. So it really helps to just make sure that you're prepared for that, have some long pants and have something that can cover your arms.
Yeah, because even when you get to Florida, again, depending on the time of year, if you go where it's generally going to be hot and sunny and lovely and wonderful, maybe a little too wonderful for some people. But there's going to be situations where, possibly in the evening or early in the morning, or whether it's a particular restaurant or hotel where maybe the AC is cranked up really high. You just want to make sure that, again, you're not packing too much of these things, especially if it is in a warmer time of the year, but maybe you have, like she said, one or two of those items.
And for us, that typically is whatever we're going to be wearing on the airplane or to the airport. That's our long pants, that's our sweatshirt and jacket, because usually, like I said, we're taking an early morning flight and we don't live in Florida, so it's usually a little chillier. So we want to have that as we're leaving. So then by the time you get to Florida, okay, you change into some shorts and a tank top and you're good to go. But you still have those long pants and jacket with you, but it's not taking up any of your suitcase when you're traveling.
So one of our last tips is going to be to make sure that when you're going to Florida on your Disney trip, that you bring a separate bag that has all of your swim gear, whether it's your swimsuits or different pair of sandals or sunglasses or hats and tank tops and coverings, whatever you need to go to the pool or to the water parks. You just want to make sure that you have a separate bag for that.
This is an especially helpful tip in light of the new perk that Disney just came out with, allowing all of their resort guests to visit water parks on their day of check-in for free. So this is super exciting, and it just makes it so much easier if you already have all of your swim gear ready to go in one place that you can just grab it and head off to the water park.
Absolutely, yeah. And even if you aren't staying on Disney property, or maybe you're not going to the water park, even if you wanted to take advantage of the pool at whatever resort you are staying at, it's just super helpful that if you have that separate bag and all your swim gear and whatnot in there ready to go, you can just very quickly access it, distribute it to the members of your family or your party, and you guys can get going as soon as you get to the resort. So.
And that's something that we really appreciated doing even before Disney came out with this new perk. That was kind of the main thing that we would do on our check-in day, because there's no guarantee that your room is ready, especially like we said, we take early flights, so we're usually there in the morning, and your room's not guaranteed until later in the afternoon. So a lot of times we would say, hey, we're going to make it a pool day and just spend the time there. So that way we're not just waiting around for our room, and we still get to do something fun. So even if you don't want to do the water parks, we highly recommend this.
Yeah, and what's nice about that, at most if not all of the Disney-owned resorts, they usually have some kind of changing facility where there are showers that you have access to, again, shampoo and conditioner and body wash and things of that nature. So, or at the very least, they should have something to where they have those little showers out at the
like
pools,
a rinse-off shower.
Where you can rinse off and then dry off and whatnot. So they make it convenient that if your room isn't ready, there are ways in which you can still access all the amenities and enjoy all the things that the resort has to offer while you are waiting for your room.
So obviously, this is not an exhaustive list of all the packing tips and tricks that we could offer, but we hope that it's been helpful for you and maybe gives you an idea of some of the things to pack for your next trip and some of the things to leave at home. And if you'd like to see how we pack for our Disney trips and get a few extra tips and tricks along the way, check out this video.